Let's go, baby. Jan is taking on Alexander Rakić. We got episode 12, Shed2Ed this week. Steve picked up the win, and it's a tie game so far this season.
Always come back strong. It should be another decent card coming up here. Not as stacked as the pay-per-view last week, but should be a good time here. Still some decent fights, a little bit of top-heavy here. A smaller card, so we'll have a little express draft here going.
That's right. This isn't going to go into the deep waters of a 7th-round pick or an 8th-round pick. This is just an 11-fight card, and we're going to see if all 11 fights make it to Saturday night. Like I said, tie game. Steve's up 5-3, and last week, the Canelo money train came to a screeching halt as Bivol took him to decision.
Woof. Yeah, that was a big bet.
That was a big bet. So this week's spicy bet, we're going to be playing off the back foot. We're taking the underdog this week on the spicy bet. We'll talk about that later. Let's just say legendary Polish power, Jan Błachowicz. So let's do this. I took the pick for who's up first, and it was that Canelo would go to the decision, and that fight did not go that way. Bivol won the fight.
Woof. So Bivol won by KO?
No, he won by decision. I think Canelo won round 9, and the judges had him winning the first 4 rounds, but a lot of publications online said Canelo maybe won 1 or 2 rounds of that whole fight.
Wow. Okay.
I think the size advantage was there for Bivol, and Canelo was working up a weight class. Jan Błachowicz, his first title defense was against Israel Adesanya, who tried to move up weight classes real quick, and it didn't pan out for him. That's just what happens. There's weight classes for a reason.
So since you lost that bet, I'll take first pick here. So looking at this card, there's a lot going on there. A lot of heavy favorites. Tatsuro Taira, I was pretty high on a couple weeks ago. That fight was delayed. Davey Grant is something. Not really sure what to do with Jake Hadley here, new fighter. So I'll just take the hype train, Nick Maximov, to start off here. I'm not going to go too deep into this one. I think Nick's a pretty safe pick here at even odds to start off the draft against you. So what do you think about that?
I watched Nick Maximov's last fight. He had Nate Diaz in the corner. Very strong wrestler. I think that's what's giving him an extra push on these odds. I've seen Petrosky fight. He was on The Ultimate Fighter. Entertaining, very high pace. And I think Maximov's got that edge.
Yeah, so do I. I think he's just head and shoulders above talent-wise, and I don't think it's much of an issue here. He should take it. Maybe he's going to grind out a decision victory. Maybe he's going to get a sub. It's going to be a lot of wrestling, a lot of groundwork going on in this one. It should just lean Nick's way, just given that he's a bigger guy, he's a stronger guy, and he should just control it.
Yeah, I'm going to do a little flash on the screen, and we'll get the implied probability of a win when the odds are 1.23 to 405 as a dog. Next up, I think I swiped Tatsuro Taira. I did. You were hyping it, and you did a good job hyping it, because I just went ahead and took that for my first pick this week.
Yeah, I liked him. I was going to take him for my next one anyways. Carlos Candelario can surprise you, but Tatsuro Taira, he's got a little bit of a hype train here. I think he's the real deal. He looks good when he's fighting. He looks good. You can just tell, the eye test. He passes the eye test. He looks like he belongs in the octagon, and I'm excited to see him there.
It's a good point. You like what you see out of Tatsuro Taira. Then you went with Davey Grant. Now, you've been watching a bit of footage. I never got around to watching some footage. I played Louis Smoke a couple times in the UFC video game. His stats aren't great in the game. How does that translate to the real counterpart?
Well, they're both up and down, hit or miss fighters. In the middle of the pack there, ranked, between 30th and 50th and 80th, depending on who you ask. I think at a 50-50 shot there for Davey Grant, I'll just take him for this one to win. I think he can knock out Louis Smoka. You've seen Louis eat a big one against Vince Morales last fight. Louis likes to do a lot of body work. Davey's got big hands, so look for one of these guys to lower their guard and the other one just to just get wrecked.
Now, you think this is a low weight class, right? This is flyweight, I believe. So you think that there's going to be some knockdowns, maybe into like a scrambling, some wrestling exchange? You think one guy is going to have the advantage on the ground?
I'm not really sure about advantage on the ground. I'd probably give that to Davey, if anything. So he might get the edge on the odds that way, and he does have some knockout power.
Next up, I took Kutalaba, the Hulk. He literally painted his skin green and dressed up as the Hulk for weigh-ins. So let's go, Hulk Kutalaba.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. I think Ryan Spann is not going to win this fight. 2.7 agrees with me. I got Kutalaba is 1-1-1 in his last 3. 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw. Who knows what you're going to get tonight? Ryan Spann, 2-2 in his last 4. We're really feeling like a coin flip, but the odds are really tilting Cutelaba on this one. Spann has been rocked a couple times in his last few fights with Anthony Smith. He ate a couple of real hard punches with Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker knocked him out. So maybe he's a bit chinny, and I think the 2.7 reflects that he might be a bit prone to getting knocked out based on his past couple of fights.
Yeah, and that could be a bit of a problem when you get up in these higher weight classes. 205, light heavyweight, getting a lot of power behind all these shots here.
Jake Headley. You took Jake Headley next.
I took Jake Hadley next. I wasn't really sure what to do with this one here. Just kind of cleaning up some of these lower odds. These are two relatively new guys here, not very experienced in the octagon. Jake Hadley making his debut there. Alan Nascimento debuted against Tagir Ulanbekov and just got wrestled for 15 minutes straight. So I'm kind of excited to see what he does against Jake Hadley, who's going to give him an opportunity to stand up, but he's going to also be able to show some of his groundwork again. I'm sure he's worked a lot on his groundwork after that domination from Tagir Ulanbekov. So I'm looking forward to this one a little bit. I think Nascimento has a lot of solid defense, but I think if it goes the distance, Jake Hadley's going to be pushing the pace, and he's probably just going to win by decision.
Now, with that, we took the first 5 picks of the night. They're all the 5 favorites. So this is, I would say, a lopsided card at one end with the odds.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, we follow it the whole way through. I don't even think we touch on any underdogs until the gambling picks. We find some value there later on. But this is a tough card to make some money on by the looks of it.
This is. I went for the big jump. I just went for the pick'em that I liked more. Andrea KGB Lee. I watched a little bit of her fight with Cynthia Calvillo. She was throwing 24 strikes a minute, maybe even more than that. So it's very, very high tempo fighter. And we'll see how that one goes.
An absolute machine. Yeah, Andrea Lee, I watched a few of her fights there. I liked her for a later pick. I didn't think you were going to spring on her so early, but she does look good. Looks a little bit head and shoulders above Vivian. I watched a Vivian fight against Chookagian. She actually held her own there. You could argue that Vivian won 2 rounds and probably won the fight against her, but you can see her fall apart in round 3. But Andrea Lee is a machine. I'm looking forward to myself, Andrea Lee fighting against Chookagian after they both win this week.
Interesting. I think that matchmaking could go that way. I think Andrea Lee's looking good at 125 pounds. Fighting against Cynthia Calvillo, it was a corner stoppage after 2 rounds. Her tempo just was unrelenting, and she just started to break and make her opponent wilt right in front of her. You took Caitlin Chookagian. You just said you think she's going to win.
She's fighting at 125. She's the second-ranked fighter at 125. Amanda Ribas is the 9th or 10th ranked fighter at 115, moving up a weight class. She does have a win at 125 against Paige Van Sant, I believe, but that was probably a couple of years ago there now. So I'm looking for Chookagian just to be throwing volume, a lot of strikes, a lot of the similar fighting style to Andrea Lee minus the judo there. Just throwing a lot of high energy strikes here and there, mixing it up, throwing a lot of kicks, knees, lefts and rights everywhere. And she's just going to be wearing out Amanda Ribas standing up for the duration of this fight.
Now, Amanda was at 115. Now she's jumping up to 125. I remember when her and Marina Rodriguez had that matchup, and Amanda was a big favorite going into that fight. And we saw the hype just transfer directly into Rodriguez.
I don't think she's expected to win against Chookagian, given the big gap in the rankings and the gap in the weight division there. So even if she does lose this one, I don't picture her falling from 9 or 10 too far that she can't take advantage of it. But of course, she would shoot up the rankings and get her own hype train back with a win.
That's a good point. If you think Amanda's going to surge, you could take that side of the line.
If I was to take anything, I'd probably take Amanda by sub, something like that. She hasn't really had any submissions in a little while, but Caitlin's ground game isn't quite as good as Ribas's ground game. So maybe she's going to change up her camp. Maybe she's going to come in with a game plan and look for something like a sub to win this one.
We'll keep an eye on Amanda Ribas by submission. We'll get the odds for that. We'll throw that up here. We're not betting it this week, are we? No, let's keep it off the list. We'll keep that as the keeping an eye on bet this week.
Yeah, there you go. No, I'm not throwing any money on that one. I think even at a lower weight, I think Amanda probably won't be able to successfully wrestle Caitlin enough to get her in position for the sub, but I'm sure she will try.
I think she might be able to use the threat of wrestling to improve her stand-up game. But other than that, I got to agree with you there. I don't think she's going to try to take this to the ground and grind out a decision. Next up, Alexander Rakić. Now, this is one half of my spicy bet. We're going to take Jan Błachowicz a couple of different ways later on.
Yeah, and we'll do this. We'll just take some 1.5 at even odds against each other there, just to clean up the card there. Implied probability is always big with a 1.5 odds. You assume that they're going to win about 60 or 70% of the time. So you'll just take those odds that are given you, and then we'll turn around and throw another bet on Jan later, eh?
Well, Alexander Rakić is worse than minus 200, so I'd have to bet $10.50 to win $5 if I were to bet it at, you know, some sort of gambling establishment. But I can just get it for $5 off of you. So it's good value.
I took Yandy Doba. I like her. I watched her fight against, who did she fight recently?
She lost to Amanda Hebos. Hebos beat.
That's what it was.
Amanda Hebos beat Jandy Doba after she lost to Marina Rodriguez.
Yeah, and you know what? I watched that fight, and I didn't really think that Ebas deserved the win in that one. Jandy Doba looked really good. Probably was stolen a victory on this one, but regardless, I'll still take Jandy Doba to beat up on Angela Hill. Angela Hill is dangerous. You don't know if she's going to come in and knock someone out or catch someone with a hook, anything like that. So it's worth a late round pick for me, but I do think Jandy Doba will get the win with this one.
I think Angela Hill just has a couple more losses than wins. That's why she's got that bit of a dog tilt. And Jandy Doba is hopefully going to be able to just keep the pressure going throughout that fight and shut down the offense of Angie Hill, because Angie Hill will keep up a really high pace if she can manage it. Michael Johnson, let's go. 169, baby. Let's do this thing. You knocked out Poirier. Come through for me, please. Michael Johnson, please win this fight.
This one's a pretty wild one. I was kind of confused when I looked at the odds and seen Michael Johnson at a 169. And then I looked over at Allen's record there, 15-3, I believe it was, or at the time right now. But both fighters haven't won in a few years. Both fighters are probably getting towards the end of their careers. And this one just seems to be a good matchup between two fighters that have fallen from the rankings there and are now facing each other. Maybe the loser retires. I don't know. But after watching both of them, it looks like Allen's last fight, he looked just exhausted and kind of worn out. He was out-wrestled by Bobby Green. He tried to game plan a wrestling match against Bobby Green so he didn't have to get beat up. And Bobby Green was just slamming him down. And then when they were fighting, standing up, of course, he was worse. So Patrick's just not looking good. I do like Johnson as well.
Yeah, I looked up. I've seen a couple of fights of Mike Johnson. I've been watching him for a while. He's fought a lot of memorable opponents recently. Thiago Moises, he had a good first round. And then Thiago, his coach, was like, you got to die for the leg, man. And then boom, leg lock. Catches the guy. Taps out Mike Johnson. So who knows how this one could go, but Mike's on the fave side, and I like the root for Mike, so I'll throw my next pick on Mike.
Yeah, let's go, Mike. But for my last one, I had no idea what to do with this one. Manuel Torres, new fighter, 12-2 so far, but he hasn't really fought a whole lot of strong competition. He was in Contender Series, beat up on Colton England there, got him with a good strike in the first round. He's got some hype behind him from this. So you see him on the favorite side of this match. So I'll just take the odds. I'll lean with the books on this one. I'll take the implied probability 55% for my final pick. I'm probably wrong because I'm not very good at my final pick. So look for me to scratch this one from my gambling picks.
And of course, shouts out to Manuel. What's up, Manuel?
What's up, Manuel?
Now for the gambling picks, you went for a bit of a tighter set here. You said you had 3 parlays, 9 picks overall.
Yeah, so we have 9 picks overall. We're playing with a little bit here and there on this one. Trying to leave out a couple that I didn't really like Manuel Torres. Flipping around on a couple that I wasn't huge fans on, like Davey Grant, Jake Headley, even though I drafted them. Parlayed Nick Maximov together with Taira Tetsura, assuming that we're both not going to miss our first round pick this week. and just get a little bit better odds on a couple of guys that really should get the victories there. I do like Cutelaba to win this one. It looks like me and you and Smelly were on Cutelaba there for this one, as well as most other people that I have been talking to. So I'll take him there for a heavy favorite bet, big unit bet. So it's about 2 1/3 units. So it's 2.3 units on Cutelaba to win 1 unit. So if he loses, I'm down 2.3. If he wins, I'm just positive 1. But that's the odds there for him.
I think 1.43 is kind of like the sweet spot. 1.43 is minus 230, and then the Ryan Spann side is about plus 175, just for the money line kids at home. What else you got?
What else we got? Well, we were having some problems with this one. We had some really heavy favorites, a lot of 1.5s or around that area there. So I tried not to throw all the money on these because you would have to put 2 units down on a 1 unit bet here. So Caitlin Chookagian and Virna, I like this one to parlay them together. I think they'll both win. And if one of them don't, I think I'm still out less than if one of them wins and one of them don't, and I miss the parlay, as opposed to hitting one bet, losing another bet.
I like it. Chookagian, Jandy Doba parlay.
Yeah, there we go. But we got Jan
Błachowicz.
We got Jan Błachowicz. We both are fans of Jan Błachowicz for this. 2.6 odds, 1 fight out of losing the championship at this division. I like the value here, certainly. Rakić has got a little bit of hype behind him, but somebody's always got to be there to stop it. I mean, if he beats Jan Błachowicz, then he's going to be fighting for a championship, you would imagine, probably rising up the ranks, probably will be number 1 or number 2 contender. Then can you picture Rakić fighting for a title right now? I mean,
ask me next week.
What it would be.
I would say ask me next week.
All right, that's a good answer. But anyways, 2.6, I like the value here for Jan. And then looking at Lewis Smoka, this fight could go either way. This one's a toss-up for me, Davey Grant and Lewis Smoka. Neither of them are really super impressive as of late. So I'll just take the odds here on a coin toss at 3.25 payout.
Sounds good. Frank Allen parlay, a bit spicy. Petrosky by sub, just a little bit spicy. We'll sprinkle some little pepper on the end of the gambling pick. See if we can
some spice there. I'm just fading myself, my final pick of the draft. So I'm going to take Frank on one, and then that one can go either way against someone with a UFC debut here. And then we have Allen there as well, fighting against someone making their UFC debut. So this is the anti-rookie parlay. So as long as both of the rookies lose, then 5.67 payout. I like this one for a really small bet. I'll only put 0.2 units down on this one, but I like it for the payout. The value is there. This one, maybe 25% chance that it hits, but it'll pay out, say, 5.5 times. So I like the value there.
I like that.
I missed my last 2 first-round picks. I haven't missed any in season 1, so I'm kind of playing it cautious here. I know I've parlayed Maximov together with Taira, but if Maximov does lose, I know this is going to be a wrestling match. Petrosky's got 6 or 7 subs in his career. If he's going to win, it's probably going to be by sub. The odds here, 13.0 or plus 1,200 by sub. I really like the value here just to kind of hedge against Nick Maximov, my first-round pick this week.
I like that. That's a fun one. I think if you had Juliana Pena by submission the night that she tapped out Amanda Nunes, that was a really, feasible bet to hit. It happened. So Petrosky by sub is not far-fetched, I wouldn't say at all.
Yeah. And I really like all of the sub ones. I mean, subs don't happen all that often, don't get me wrong, but that's because only certain fighters really use that and have that in their arsenal and can pop that out. Even if they're losing the fight, they can grab an arm, get an arm bar, take it back, get a rear naked choke. They can kind of just make it happen, just appear out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden, the person that was dominating the fight has now lost due to tap. Exciting to watch. Fun prop to bet on.
It is a fun prop to bet on. We got a lot of submission artists in the past couple of years. We got Charlie Oliveira getting the submission win. Who else we got? We had Habib Nurmagomedov, submission machine near the tail end of his career. Who else we got out of the submission game? Paul Craig, shouts out to Paul Craig, hit a few times on the
Paul
show.
Craig.
Shouts out to Paul Craig.
Paul Craig loves fighting on his back, man. Anyway,
Paul Craig's guard is dangerous, man. Shouts out to Paul Craig. With that, Andre Petrosky, the spicy Crocker pick of the week. I wanted to talk about my Jan Błachowicz bets, man. No, I'll save him till the end. I'll save him till the very end. How about that?
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Jan Błachowicz. We're here now. Middleweight bout kicking off the card. Nick Maximov coming in -380. Tatsuro Taira. Welcome back, Tatsuro. Let's get this fight on the card. Then Jandy Doba, Angie Hill.
Yeah, honestly, 3 of these fights should be very exciting fights. Even the wrestling match to start off the card between Nick Maximov and Andre Petrosky should be exciting, high energy wrestling. A lot of changing positions, a lot of grappling, a lot of everything there going on, high energy. Then we got the Tatsuro Taira fight that I'm excited for. Been 2 weeks of build up for me, so I'm excited to finally see him in the ring there. And then the Verna Hill match, that could go anyway. And that one, honestly, I think they're going to be standing up and just throwing strikes for this one. It's going to be fun. If someone doesn't get knocked out, I'd kind of be surprised, but only I can see it happening because they're at 115 there. That's pretty much it.
That has the makings of an exciting fight. The featured prelim of the night, KGB Lee taking on Viviane, kind of like a pick'em style fight. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, much more excited about the KGB Lee fight than the 2 old men socking it out there. Michael Johnson is 3-9, is in his last 12 and hasn't won in almost 4 years. He's on a 4-loss streak. Alan Patrick hasn't won in 4 years. So we're going to make one of these guys win a match, and someone is going to hang around for a little bit too long. But
all I can say is, like, I hope this one does not go to a draw or a no contest, because if so, we're blaming. We're coming after the Shed for cursing this fight.
Yeah, really though. But looking at the Andrea Lee fight, that one's going to be fun. She's a higher energy fighter, so she's going to get the build up there before the main card. So she's got a couple of similar fights to Arugio. So they both fought Roxanne Modafferi. Andrea Lee actually lost to her. This was quite a while ago, before Roxanne's big skid. But they both beat Montana De La Rosa. They both beat Cynthia Calvillo. So we see a couple of fighters ranked very similarly here. So this is a pure pick'em here. This is going to be a good fight.
Leading us into the main card. Main card is kicking off at a pay-per-view time slot. So let's take a look here. The prelims are actually kicking off at 5:30 Mountain. That's 9 p.m. Shed time. I think we've touched on these fights already. I'd say I'm looking forward to the ladies' bout. The 3 female bouts on this card. I'm looking forward to all 3 of those out of an 11-fight card. Chookagian Hebos, ranked number 1, ranked number 9 in the flyweight. So Amanda could find herself at the top end of the rankings if she can score this win.
Yeah, it could be a wild upset there for Amanda Ebus. I think the odds should be kind of leaning more heavily towards Chookagian, but it should be a good fight. I'm looking forward to hopefully them standing up. I don't want to see a whole lot of grappling there, but hopefully Chookagian can just defend herself, defend takedown, and then just keep piling on the volume and just keep fighting it out.
Other side of the main card, we got bantamweight bout, Grant Smolka. Light heavyweight, 2 bouts, Span Kudalaba, Błachowicz, Rakić as our main event.
The main event looks pretty tight there. Davey Grant and Smolka, that one probably, hopefully, will be a fast fight. I'm looking for that one to go under 2.5. That one's at about 1.6, 1.65 odds. I kind of like that bet still, just kind of off to the side. But I watched a bit of Smolka. He goes for the body a lot, and it's going to leave either his chin open, if he's going to get Davey's guard down away from his face, and then he's going to be going for his knockout shots. So look for one of these guys to get a finish here.
Nice. Looking forward to the bantamweight bout. Talk a bit about Błachowicz. This has all the makings of a 5-round decision.
Yeah, it kind of does, yeah.
However, we're going to bet spicy here. So I was taking a quick look. Because I've got Rakić already for $5. $5 on Błachowicz will leave me with an $8.25 profit. So I'm going to place that bet. I'm also going to place a $5 bet, a 1-unit bet on Jan Błachowicz by knockout. That's going to leave me with $22.25. So if that can hit, I'd like to see that. Also, it's fun. I get to bet both sides of the money line, and I'll have a variance in what I'll pay out. But if we get Jan by KO, it'll be a nice night for the gang.
Yeah, and I can see that happening. You know, if he's going to win, maybe I could see it definitely by decision. Probably won't get any substitution unless it's, say, a rear naked choke after a bit of ground and pound, whatever it is. But Jan is 39 now, is he? His endurance might be waning a little bit. I know he just lost the title fight to a 42-year-old who wore him out there in the second round, but he looked kind of slow during that fight, so I'm not really sure. I'm kind of excited to see his form, see if he picked up his camp, see how he worked on himself after that loss, and I'm hoping to see him return in a strong form. Looking for an exciting matchup from Jan.
I am too. Fight was delayed. This was originally scheduled for a few weeks ago. Jan had a little injury, so they delayed it. Rakić is coming in. He's like 29 years old to Jan's 38, 39. So I think that Anthony Smith, when he fought Rakić, he said he just felt like overpowered. So Alexander might just have the strength or the size advantage. We're going to have to wait and see on that one. Take a look at the props, though. Plus 345 by KO, plus 400 by decision, plus 655. So I don't think Błachowicz by sub is on the menu. I am not betting on Błachowicz by sub. I'm going to lean KO in this case.
I think that's a smart choice.
Thank you. Coming up May 21st, we got Holly Holm, Caitlin Vieira, 135. We got Volkov and Rosenstrike at 265. We got a week off May 28th.
All right. Okay. Got a couple of good cards coming up there. You know, we're right into the thick of it there right now. So let's get it going.
Let's do it. And then we got the pay-per-view coming up June 11th.
Let's go.
Let's go. What else?
Let's go.
Let's go. Well, let's go. Let's go. Let's go.